Welcome to an episode of G's Place, and I'm your host, Gladys Toscano. In November, I had the honor of filming the Thanksgiving worship service at the Trinity Worship Center in Oak Bluffs at the United Methodist Church. And the theme of that service was trusting God and thanking God in challenging times. Well, at that service, it was a non-denominational service. Many churches participated. The Grace Episcopal, Federation Church in Edgartown, St. Andrews, West Tisbury Congregational, and Covenant on the Rock. Well, at that service, the free will offering that took place during that service, the funds went to the Homeless Initiative Discretionary Fund. And the speaker there to address the issue of homelessness on the Vineyard was Connie Teixeira, the Assistant Commissioner of the Homeless for Dukes County. So I thought, this just struck my heart to find out what's going on in the Vineyard. And I asked her to join me to share her knowledge and what's being done to help the homeless on the Vineyard. Connie, thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you for inviting me.
Well, how long have you been doing the Assistant Commissioner of the Homeless for Dukes County? How long have you had that title?
Since 2009.
2009. And in your opinion, has the homeless situation on the Vineyard gotten better, stabilized, or has it gotten worse?
It's gotten worse.
It's gotten worse.
It's gotten worse, and it's gotten worse because it started off with me with 2 people.
Wow.
And the 2 people now has increased to 160 that we know of.
Wow. Right here on the Vineyard?
Right here on the Vineyard.
Wow. Okay.
And it's probably more that we don't know of.
Wow. So now, when you count the homeless per se on the Vineyard, do you have a breakdown of who is homeless, like by sex or gender or age or that kind of thing?
For some of them, we do.
Okay. All right. So what is it currently as far as men, women, children?
Currently, we know of approximately 80 males. Mm-hmm. We know of approximately 20 females.
Wow.
We know of approximately 2 families. And we know of a group of couch hoppers between the ages of 18 and 30.
18 and 30. Couch hoppers.
Couch hoppers.
Tell the audience what couch hoppers are.
Couch hoppers are those people who come to your house and stay for a night, or 2, or 3, or 4. And when you get either tired of me, or the cake party gets broken up, or somebody does drugs and gets a little loud, and the neighbors, you have to go.
I see.
Or my family comes back.
Mm-hmm. So what they do basically is live off the generosity of friends and neighbors who will allow them to crash on the couch.
Absolutely.
So hence the term couch hoppers.
Right,
Wow.
right. And these include those parents who have unruly children they can't deal with, and they decide to put them out.
Wow. Now I've experienced that. I've had, I raised 4 boys, and I've had raising my boys where parents put the kids out. Never could understand it, but I know what that's like. They sleep on your couch floor. They become couch hoppers, as you said, until you can talk to the parents and work things out. But I never could quite get that. And I'm just blown away by this. Let me ask you this. When you learn of a homeless person, what is the first step that you take to help that person?
Okay, the first step is to find out why they're homeless, to begin with. And to find out the condition of the person. Because there are some conditions that I have to send off island right away.
Oh, okay.
Because I'm not equipped to handle it.
I see. And I'm just gathering from that may have to do with mental health issues?
Mental health issues, substance abuse, chronic substance abuse issues. Because for me to take you in, you have to be clean for at least 2 weeks.
I see. Okay. So there are regulations, guidelines, in other words, to assist or assess a homeless person.
Right.
Okay. So that's interesting to know. So now, once you assess that person, what options are available to you?
Okay. When I have a person in my care, the option is you need to say something to me. I have a night, a week, a month that I can perhaps put you in a hotel, motel. However, at the end of that time, you have to be ready to do something. Either you're going to go into housing, you're going to go to shelter, but you have to do something because I can't house you indefinitely. We don't have transitional housing on the island,
I
nor do
see.
we have shelter on the island at this time. Otherwise, you have to go over to the mainland to the NOAA shelter.
The NOAA shelter?
The NOAA shelter in Hyannis.
Hyannis. Oh, see, I didn't know that existed. Okay, so now when you say you have to do something, basically what you're giving them is an opportunity to sort of stabilize temporarily before you can determine what the next step will be.
That's correct.
But they have to cooperate in that process.
That's correct.
Yeah, okay, I can imagine.
Okay.
And sometimes that's not always the case.
Right, and because there are rules going into the hotel motel, a lot of them don't go. And it's because you can't, it has to be clean. You can't drink, smoke, or drug. You have to give us a call before 2 o'clock so that we can verify if you're on medication that the pill you're taking matches what the pharmacy says the pill ought to be, to make sure that you're not in there drugging.
Wow.
And
I see, okay, I get it. So that in order to be, is this a daily thing, a daily requirement?
it's a daily requirement.
Right, okay, so now when you do the hotel things, okay, what is it called? You said vouchers.
Vouchers.
A hotel voucher.
Yes.
So basically, in order for that homeless person to get that hotel voucher for the night, they would have to call in by 2 o'clock, and it would be they would have to be deemed, what's the right word? Suitable? Or in
Well, what they have to do is I have to fill out a form, an assessment form.
every day?
Yeah, well, not every day, but let me say this, for some of them who are known to abuse drugs and alcohol, they have to go for breathalyzers daily.
Wow. Wow, so that's probably why a lot of them who have substance abuse issues stay away from or avoid that whole hotel voucher situation, or maybe even transitional housing situation.
Well, but there is no transitional housing here. We lost that about 5 years or more ago.
Wow. Okay, so now this is really opening up my mind to a lot of different things. So I need to know. So where does the funding come from for whatever you can provide? Because based on what we just said, all that's really available is moment-to-moment housing, if you will, in the form of a hotel voucher.
That's correct.
And that's all that's available on the Vineyard?
That's all that's available here on the Vineyard at this time.
At this time. Okay, so where does the funding come from for that?
Okay, the primary funding comes from the clergy, from the churches here on the island.
Yes, because you are a member of the Island
Clergy Association.
Okay.
And there is some funding that also comes from private donation. And then the county has available to me for vouchers $1,000 per year. And that helps in the transition between spring and fall when I'm refunded by the clergy.
I see. So basically,
So that helps the gap.
the gap. So the county, when you say county, you mean Dukes County?
Dukes County,
Okay, so Dukes County basically gives you $1,000 a year,
that's correct.
which helps support the hotel voucher program.
That's correct.
Okay, and then also, I want to be clear about this. I didn't want to make the hotel voucher things or the homeless situation sound like it has all to do with people who have issues, substance or alcohol abuse issues. There are homeless on the Vineyard whose issues aren't related to that sort of thing.
That's correct. There are
Okay.
some issues that relate to health
Health concerns?
There are some that relate to the fact that you're an elder and you're living in crowding situations.
Wow.
Or again, you're couch hopping because you're waiting elder housing, which is about 2 years out for most.
So do we currently have seniors or elders on the Vineyard who are homeless?
We do.
Wow. How many?
Okay, and it depends on how you classify it. And we have one that I know of who's on the street. I have her in motel.
How old
And
is
that's
she?
because
Can
she's
you
ill.
tell us how old she is?
She's 64.
64. And she's ill?
She's ill.
Well, what is her?
She's been ill. I've known her for 3 years, and she's been ill for the 3 years that I've known her.
Oh my goodness. Wow.
She's diabetic.
And she's currently living on the hotel voucher program.
She is.
Okay.
And she's living in the hotel voucher program because she had a room. She's unable to stay there because of the open flame and the fact that she's on oxygen.
Oh my goodness. So, and there isn't any place else for her to go at this time.
And there's no place else for her to go at this time.
Unbelievable. You see, the thing is that I think it's important to say that we see homeless people. I mean, if you go off island, I'm from New York, so you see homeless people a lot. And it's that assumption that they've done something wrong to be in that situation. And that's not always the case. Everybody goes through rough times in life, and you don't know when it's going to be your time. So there go I, but for the grace of God. So it's important to keep in mind that when you're dealing with situations or you hear things like this, don't judge, because you don't know why that person is in the situation that they're in.
Absolutely. Here on the island, the problem that we have is that we have a seasonal economy. So you have tradesmen who are working in the spring and the fall, and then comes winter and they're laid off. And they depend on unemployment to carry them through the winter. And this year the unemployment funds were cut short of the time. So we're going to have even more. And not only do I handle the homeless, but I also work in homeless prevention. What we try to do is bridge that gap to keep people from being on the street. And those are people that we take care of from October to May, early June, just to keep them in housing. And what we have to do is pay the first step, which means I'm behind in my rent only because my second or third job no longer exists because of the season. So they're not people who just lay around and ask for a handout. These are people who work and work hard.
Right.
These are people who don't get to see their children because they're working so hard just to keep a roof over their heads and food on the table.
Yes, and there's a lot of that on the Vineyard.
Absolutely. And then secondly, you have the SNAP program, which is the food stamp program that was cut. So that's $36 out of everybody's income that was cut, out of every family's income that was cut.
And that's a lot.
And that's a lot of, it doesn't seem like a lot to us.
But it's a lot.
But it's a lot of money.
If you've ever had to feed boys, it's a lot.
Right. If you don't have very much, it's a lot.
It's a lot, yes.
Right.
And you'd be surprised what you could do with $30 in the supermarket.
Absolutely. Especially now that Stop and Shop is having that sale.
Yeah, January.
And reliable. You know, you can do a lot with that $36. So
yes, you can. And clip your coupons, you're good.
Right.
I just think it's just so, I want to bring home to the viewers on the Vineyard that a lot of times we don't know about what's going on where we live because, as Connie just said, we're so busy doing the day-to-day that, I mean, do you really sit down and read the paper? You may skim through it, but you don't read every single article. I know I don't. Thank goodness for online because I get a chance to, look and see what the stories are. But I find it very interesting that this past summer in August, the Washington Post did an article on homelessness on the Vineyard.
Right.
And in August, they were saying there was 120 people homeless. Now, that's what they knew about. We don't know how many really were homeless because it's hard to get an actual count, right?
Absolutely.
So now, if on August it was 120 people, here we are now, it's January.
Right.
And it's 160. And it's proving to be quite a winter. And it's a big concern because that means it's actually growing.
Absolutely.
And rapidly.
And it grows yearly.
Like every year from 2009.
It grows.
Wow.
And there are people who are homeless that we can't even account for because they live in various places. And though you say you go, and the police say they go into the state forest, they're never going to find them because they have enough wisdom to know when to be there.
And they don't want to be found.
And they don't want to be found.
I believe you.
A lot of them on the very cold nights will do something so that they can get arrested. So that they can get in out of the cold for a night.
Wow.
Therefore, there's a warrant that accompanies them, which means if they have a warrant outstanding, they can't come to me because if I know there's a warrant, I have no choice.
That limits your ability to assist them.
Because then I have to call the police.
Because then it becomes a legal criminal issue.
Absolutely.
And that's unfortunate because, again, it's like it's this vicious cycle.
Absolutely. And it's hard because it's hard for a homeless person to know and feel comfortable with who they can trust.
Yes.
I mean, because they have a secret, and we are a very close community. And because we are so close, nobody wants anybody to know that they're the homeless person. They used to come to the community suppers, but in order to stay out in the cold, you can't bathe. And let me say you can't bathe because you need the oil that comes into your skin from not bathing
To keep
so
your
that
pores
to keep your
closed.
pores closed and to help to keep you warm.
Yes.
We have the community suppers. They started out with one night at the Wailing Church. They've now increased to 7 nights a week.
Right.
And we're hoping that they come out and eat, because if they have a dinner meal at 5, 6 o'clock, that means they're going to be fueled up and they might make it through a cold winter night.
Wow. But then we discussed this, and you said you were concerned because a lot of people don't want to come to the community suppers because then people see them, judge them,
Right.
and they can't deal with the scrutiny.
Absolutely, because we're
It's hurtful.
It is. It's because we're so judgmental about people. And it's like sitting in church and there's a person sitting next to you and they don't smell quite like you think, so you sort of scoot over, and as you're downwind, you just move to another seat. It's very hurtful. These people don't want to live like they have to, but they have no choice.
I mean, it's very humbling,
Right.
you know, to go from one point in your life to another point in your life where you had and now you don't. And here you are in this situation. If you just had a chance, you know, if someone just gave you a chance, you could get that step up. You'd be on your way. But it's that process of getting to that point, and then a lot of times the pride and the humiliation, people don't want to deal with what's going on. And the reason why Connie and I are saying this is because please, we are having a very cold winter. And it goes from one extreme from one day to the next, which also can lead to illness. If you see someone who needs something, without being judgmental, help. And if you see someone come out to the community suppers and they're not looking exactly spiffy or smelling that great, please be kind. Please be kind. That's all we're asking you to do. And what I wanted to say too also is that at this point in time, do you know of any teenagers that are out there that may be homeless?
There are teenagers. I don't have a count on them. And I'm not even sure that we could get an accurate count on them. Again, because if the schools know that there are children who are homeless, they have no choice but to call the authorities, Child and Protective Services, to come get them. So there are children who couch hop.
Wow.
Or they'll come and, you know, it's very sad.
It is
It
very
is.
sad because, I mean, this is 2014, and you hear about the things that are happening here, and you hear about the things that are happening in other countries. You can put your TV on at night and see the aid requests from all these organizations to help the hungry and the homeless in other countries. And it's, ironically enough, it's here. This is home. It's where we are. And it's our responsibility to look out for each other and for our neighbors. And I just want to say to you, is there a way that people can contact you to let you know, I mean, how to give money, offer housing, any number of things that we can do to help?
Certainly. You can call me, and the number is 508.
I'm going to put it on the screen. 508.
693 3193.
Okay, excellent. See, Connie Teixeira.
Right, and what we're asking for is financial help, but we're also asking for people who have skills. In the time that I've been working with this, it's been on a volunteer basis since 2009, and I've been working alone and only with the clergy helping. However, we need someone who has skills in social work and case management. And
I wish I did.
the other thing that would be helpful is someone who had skills in handling mental health and substance abuse. And unfortunately, the one place that we have here for substance abuse, you have to pay, and if you're on the street, it means you really don't have the financial wherewithal to pay.
Wow. So the services are available, but they have to pay for it?
Mm-hmm.
My
They have
goodness.
to pay a fee to get into the services that are available.
That's unfortunate. That's very unfortunate. Right. As far as I know, okay, what else can people do? It's like, what would you like the viewers to know about the homeless situation from your heart, besides what we've just talked about?
What would we like them to do? What I envision short term is to have some case management here so that we can help. I'm only one person, so that means if there are 160 people out there, I can't reach out to them every day.
Right.
Because there's a process that you go through. Even when you find housing for people who are on the street, it takes a year or 18 months to get them back to the world of the living so that they know how to pay bills, so that they know how to learn life skills.
Mm-hmm. They have to get acclimated to life again.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So these are the things that we need. We had some young people at Grace Church who did a coat drive this winter, giving away coats to people who needed them. Mm-hmm. We also have Clothes to Go, where a person who has nothing can go. Nobody cares whether you have a job, whether you live on the street, anybody can go. Mm-hmm. We encourage people to go because they do have warm clothing there.
Excellent. And I report that on the news. Clothes to Go and the food pantry, both in Vineyard Haven.
Absolutely. And also we have the thrift store in Vineyard Haven, where, sometimes they get those coveralls that men wear who work in the trades to keep them nice and warm. And, we get donations of those things to keep people warm.
So you need those?
We need those.
Okay.
And we need to let people know that those things are available. Just give a call so that we can make things available to you. We have blankets and sheets and things for those people who are starting over. People who have run on hard times and now don't have things like sheets and blankets and the things that you need to live. You can give a call because we can make those things available to them. Okay.
But at the same time, you need them.
So
if you have excess linen or towels or clothes or whatever, and you think someone can use it, bring it over.
And especially those warm blankets. We got blankets donated one year from when the jail did the turnover.
Right.
And I think you can use those in Antarctica. They are the warmest blankets I've ever seen.
They must be wool. Are they wool?
They're wool.
Wool. Those are the good ones, like the Boy Scout blankets.
Right.
Yeah,
right,
I remember those.
Right.
And the other thing is, too, now, do you think that it would help if the county or the towns became more involved with this issue?
Yes.
Okay,
yes.
so what I'm thinking is there a way that we can reach out to our officials, our board of selectmen in each town or the county or the state, and ask them to do more? Is there something we can do?
Well, let me say this. There is money that comes from the state and the federal government. It goes to Hyannis. Because our numbers are so small here, if we pulled away from the Cape, we would get nothing. Because 160 doesn't put a dent in the homeless issue.
Right.
So if we go with them with our count, then the numbers are raised and they get more money and they do help us on the Cape.
Okay.
Thank
you, Cape. Really?
Right. Okay. But what we need to do locally and what we're trying to do locally is to get transitional housing, dormitory style. And that would be something. And so that means we need to change zoning laws. That means we need to work with the towns and the town officials so that we can get property to either have new housing built or take an existing house and have it converted.
Exactly.
So that we can get people off the street.
Or perhaps one of those homes that the counties or the towns have taken over because it's abandoned or it was a foreclosure and it was just left.
Right.
So maybe something like that could be turned into transitional housing.
Absolutely, because believe it or not, if it's sitting there and it's empty, 9 out of 10 chances the homeless are living in it anyway.
They're squatters.
They're squatters.
Absolutely.
In it, so.
Happens in New York. I believe you.
It happens everywhere.
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 Well, I mean, if you're out there, think about it. If you're out there and you're cold and you see an empty building, what are you going to do? Stay out there and be cold, or are you going to get in that building?
Absolutely. And there are also the people who come in the summer and they leave their vehicles, and it's such a safe place that they don't think to lock them. There are probably people living in your vehicle.
Yes. Yes, I believe that. That happened in New York. There was
Well,
a case
no,
like
I
that.
had
Yeah.
a friend. I was sitting on a porch over on Narragansett, and we kept seeing this vehicle move. And so she went out, and the gentleman came out of the vehicle. He had been living there for the winter.
Oh, my goodness.
So it meant that she had to get rid of her vehicle. So, you know, if you leave a shed open,
Trust me, they are
trust
going
me,
to do
they're
it.
going to be there.
And I just want to say, just in case, some of you have probably seen it, but in last week's Times, dated January 9th, the high school view, one of the young people there, G. Galen Mayu, did an article entitled As Winter Falls, Homelessness Stresses Island Families. It was the part 2 version. It was done very, very well. And I guess the next version will come out when the high school view continues their newspaper. Read that. There's more information in that. And at the end of this show, we're going to put up contact information again for Connie. And if you have any ideas or any help that you can offer, please do so. I'll also put up at the end where you can send donations or call for questions and answers. Is there anything else you'd like to say?
Yeah. All I say is remember, to whom much is given, much is expected.
Amen.
And there will come a day when each of us has to answer whether we clothed someone, whether we fed someone, whether we visited someone, and whether we loved someone. So keeping that in mind as we think about the winter and the homeless, we need to embrace those principles, all of us.
Exactly. Because what you do for the least of my brethren, you do for me. Remember that. Remember that. It's our responsibility to love one another and to care for one another. So we're asking you to. Remember, the homeless are here. Keep them in your prayers, keep them in your thoughts, and always be kind. Thank you so much for joining us. We'll see you again soon. Thank you.
Thank you.